This is the Voice for Real Estate podcast. Whether you're buying a home, building a home, or designing a home, you'll meet the local experts who can provide all the information you need in every episode of Voice for Real Estate. And be sure to subscribe, share, and comment so you don't miss a single episode of Voice for Real Estate.
Here we are at Voice for Real Estate, another conversation about coastal Carolina real estate. And with me, I'm so honored and proud to have Mark Mitchell. I've been knowing him forever, and you're wise, Mark, in the real estate industry. Do you feel wise?
I don't know. I guess if age and mistakes make you wise, I should have an MBA for sure.
Well, we both got the gray hair, so hopefully
right.
we've gotten a little smarter about things.
That's right. Absolutely.
But I wanted to mention, or I wanted to ask you a question again, if you don't mind. Your children. You have 4 boys?
No, actually, we've got 4 kids, three girls and 1 boy. My oldest daughter went to BE, was an All-American lacrosse player at Bishop England High School, and then the other 3 went to Wando, and they played lacrosse and tennis and soccer. So
yeah, I wanted people to get to know you before we got into the real estate. Let me ask you another thing. So you just educated me about something about your family I didn't know. So you have a son that plays lacrosse as well?
He does. He plays lacrosse at Hampden-Sydney College in Virginia. He's in his senior year and will be graduating, and his last season will be this spring.
And you have a daughter that played it too at Bishop England?
She did. She was an All-American at Bishop England, went on to college and played at Mount Union for a year and realized it was too cold to play lacrosse outside in Cleveland, and came back to go to Clemson and played on their Clemson club team. And that was a lot of fun. That's
cool. So all the times you've been buying houses, because I know that we talked, I know you're from Boston, but all the times you've bought houses over the years, you had to make sure your family was accommodated as well. And one other question, did you have any pets?
Absolutely. We've got a dog.
So you're a pet-friendly realtor. And so you had to make sure that the kids were taken care of and their 4-legged buddies.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's a lot going on. I'm fortunate that I have a very good spouse. She's also an agent and works with us, and Lisa Mitchell, and has turned into a wonderful real estate agent now that the kids have moved off to college.
Well, in our past conversations, you've always given her credit of selling actually more real estate than you do. So I thought that
she certainly does. Does, especially these days. Yeah, 2006 I started. Yeah. Cool. And right quickly after that, things started slowing down dramatically in the business. So it was a good time to start because I kind of learned the business one transaction at a time. It wasn't crazy like it is today. And, you're tempted to take shortcuts when you start a new business when it's super, super busy like it is today.
Right. Let me ask you something. Where did you start hanging your license at? Where did you hang your license at?
I've been with Dunes Properties the whole time.
Wow, that says a lot.
I had personally bought homes when I bought my beach houses or bought a house at Wild Dunes. We had worked with Randy Walker, who owns Dunes Properties, and we had developed a pretty good relationship with he and his brother Joe, and was always impressed with the organization. It's a little bit unique in the industry with respect to we tend to have more seasoned veterans that can get the job done.
That's so true about Dunes Properties. You are there's a lot of people that've been there a very long time.
Right. Yeah, we're fortunate. They've either been here a long time or they've come along after being in the real estate business a long time, and so they've come with us, understanding that we can support their activities and they can focus on selling real estate. So we've got some very, very talented and very, very successful real estate agents working with us.
So because of your background with Enterprise, mm-hmm. Did that help you manage? I know you're the broker in charge of Mount Pleasant. So was part of the reason you took that is because obviously that was a place Randy wanted you to contribute your expertise to, but being with corporation that big, did it help you manage the agents over there in that office?
Well, certainly. Being a broker in charge is really not managing a whole lot. Everybody's kind of their own corporation and their own business. They're all independent business people. And so primarily what I do as broker in charge, and I love it, because whenever, somebody gets stuck or there's a log jam in an arrangement or an agreement or some kind of real estate deal going on, they'll give me a call and I can try to help give them an angle to try to help undo
So
it.
you solve challenges when it comes to buying or selling real estate.
That's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis, which I enjoy, because that exposes me to 10 times more real estate transactions. And the one thing I learn about this business is you learn from every one.
Podcast advertising is the new way to reach your best audience. Podcast advertising gives your business a voice of authority. Be heard. Advertise on one of our podcasts. Visit carolinapodcasts.com or call 843-345-7012.
You're listening to the Voice for Real Estate podcast, a conversation about coastal Carolina real estate.
Here I am, a consumer who watches this or listens to this, right? And when they're shopping for a realtor, what do you think from a manager standpoint, what do you think some of the top things that they need to look for?
Well, let me answer that in a different way, because with my corporate background, I moved around a lot with enterprise. And so I lived in about 6 different cities and bought and sold about 10 to 12 homes in a 25-year period. And so I developed a top 10 list of things that I hated about real estate.
Really?
Before I became one. And it kind of is an unofficial list, but it's definitely because I was trained to be so customer focused and so client focused. I'm always critiquing every business. And when I go into a business that does a great job, I'm very vocal about letting them know that. And that's kind of one of my hobbies. I hate poor service and I love great service. And so for people, I guess to answer your question directly, the things that people need to look for with a real estate agent is somebody that listens to them and doesn't go on and on about how successful they've been and what their numbers have been and all that. They really need to be focused on their client or on you if you're the buyer or if you're the seller, and they need to listen to what you have to say. I think that's probably the number one pet peeve that I have. I tend to be pretty persistent. My top 2 pet peeves, I won't go down the whole list for you. Somebody sees this and they want to know my top 10, they can call me if they want. But the top 2 are delays at closing or some kind of surprise at the closing. I think that's unforgivable. We have, as real estate agents, we have so many opportunities to make the end event, the closing, run very smoothly. And so I tend to kind of be pretty persistent and sometimes a pain in the tail for some closing attorneys and the mortgage folks, because I want to make sure that we all look good to the buyer and the seller when the closing happens.
Sure. Well, that's an important aspect. That closing, nothing happens till it closes, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly. Well, that's the grand finale.
Yes. Let me ask something, Mark. The same subject. It's an old survey, but it was taken by the National Association of Realtors, and I found it fascinating that right next to integrity and truthfulness, almost equal in the top reasons people want to deal with the realtors is knowledge of the area.
Yeah, right.
So is there an exercise a buyer that that wants to use your services or one of your agent services? Is there an exercise they should endure or put together based on, does this person I'm going to contact, especially nowadays, there's so many people being from up north, right? An exercise of, does this agent really know the territory?
Well, just ask questions. I mean, it's really easy to ask questions about things. If it's a subdivision that you're really interested in, ask questions about the homeowners association, about the dues, about the amenities that are in that thing. If you're just interested in Mount Pleasant, then you ask questions about the town of Mount Pleasant and what are they doing? Is there a moratorium on new construction? Is there a tax increase that's about to happen? Do they like to see new businesses come to town? Do they not like to see business, things like that.
Right.
So just
Right.
ask questions about what you're interested in. And you real quickly, when you start asking questions, if a real estate agent becomes impatient or short with you, it's because they're really not concerned about what you're asking or what you're concerned about, or they just don't know. And in the age of technology, there's certainly a lot of agents that spend most of their time up in Somerville, for instance, but also advertise down here in Mount Pleasant and will sell anywhere.
Let's move on to 2020-21.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think of that year and what has been highlights for you, and also was there a downside? Just let's talk about that.
Well, the downside, I guess the biggest surprise is the number of real estate agents that have come in the market. I mean, number of people that have gotten their license. But along the same lines, and so, we were people that have sold in certain territories, kind of along the lines of your last comment about selling in certain areas. We as agents are dealing more and more with agents that aren't real familiar with our area. So that's a challenge. There's no question, because we a lot of times have to do the work for the seller and the buyer. And that's okay, but sometimes
if it's a new, you're talking about if
you're working with a new agent that doesn't know the area or is brand new. Again, but in terms of the market in 2021, probably the biggest surprise that we've seen is the number of people that are buying their second and third homes over this course of this period of time. Obviously demand is continuing to exceed supply. We've got our company specifically at Dunes, in 2020, I think we hit our revenue goals, our sales goals for the company. And that's about the same time for, I think Mount Pleasant office was a little bit faster than that. But as a company, we hit our sales goals for the year in June last year. And we hit our sales revenue goals in July this year. Now, we tend to be pretty conservative, but we don't sandbag like that either. So, we didn't, and nobody really knew what was going to happen. It's been certainly very uncertain times, but what's intriguing is the way we can set our records. And obviously we've doubled our best years ever while having the lowest inventory ever.
That is fascinating. That's true across the country. Let's move on to activity on the Isle of Palms. If we can focus on that for a second, or a little bit. So there's been some amazing stories, man. Just in a brief conversation you and I had yesterday, you spotted out some numbers. So you want to let our listeners and viewers know what you know about Isle of Palms, please?
Well, I haven't really looked at the latest stats, but I know from October to October, the average sales price of a home on Isle of Palms increased just over 70% in 1 year. And it's steadily decreasing. It's kind of coming down because the numbers were growing last year. But just the fact that the price of an average sold home on Isle of Palms was nearly 70% in October. It's probably down a little bit for November, just because the sales number were a little higher in 2020. As they started growing, but so the sales numbers.
So Mark, let me not to interrupt you. So let me just understand what you're saying. Are you saying that from October of 2020 to October of 2021, that the prices of real estate on the Isle of Palms increased by almost 70%? Is that
the average home sale? Absolutely, yeah.
That is crazy. Has the island ever come that close to that at all?
I don't think so. One of the things that happens in some years where there aren't a lot of sales, those numbers can fluctuate dramatically, but those numbers increased while also having, and I don't know the numbers exactly specifically, but a high number of sales. So, just about every property that would come on the market, it was a flurry. There'd be anywhere from, 4 to 10 offers on each property on Isle of Palms.
So do you have anything you can share with us, similar things with Mount Pleasant, since you're the broker in that office that the listeners may find interesting?
Yeah, again, well, the October number was about 45% in Mount Pleasant. And so, well, South Mount Pleasant, the real hot area, the hottest area. I mean, obviously all of Mount Pleasant is extremely busy and strong numbers.
So 45%. Wow.
Yeah, for South Mount Pleasant. So that's a price increase. So, the inventory's been even more challenged based on the total number of homes in South Mount Pleasant. Again, it comes down to the reason people move to Charleston is, yeah, there are beach communities up and down the coast. Yeah, there's golf communities up and down the coast. But all you got to do is spend time downtown Charleston. And so to have that unique feel of a big city to where you can have world-class dining, world-class shopping, while at the same time at night go back to a relatively small to mid-sized town and feel like you're in, traffic's not as smooth as it was 5 years ago, but it's still, if you spend any time in the larger cities, it's still pretty good around here.
It's our lifestyle is the whole, obviously we're proud of where we live, but the whole coast of South Carolina is like an incredibly piece of paradise,
Yeah.
I interviewed Kevin.
One question I'm always asked, is this the right time to buy? And you may be prepared to ask me that question.
Well, we had a conversation yesterday, and you're getting ready to purchase what? And also that shows that it is a good time to buy. We want to let everybody know what I'm talking about.
First of all, when people ask me about the real estate market, it has always been about each individual neighborhood, and it's local. So there's not an overall real estate market. There's neighborhoods that are extremely hot. There's neighborhoods that are oversold for one reason or another. There are neighborhoods that you just can't get a house sold for a reasonable amount. So, real estate, the real answer to the questions is neighborhood by neighborhood. But when you're talking about an area near Coleman Boulevard here in Mount Pleasant, where somebody can walk to restaurants and walk to entertainment and shops and beautiful design stores like GDC and Stephen Shell and those types of places, and can have a good time without ever getting in their car. That's pretty high demand in one of the, in what has been titled the safest community in all of South Carolina, which is the town of Mount Pleasant. And obviously that's at the top of a lot of people's mind too, the safety of the community. And obviously our police and firefighters do a wonderful job.
And I think it's great that Chief Carl Richie was voted as a city council member. I mean,
absolutely.
I need to do some research. Mount Pleasant Magazine needs to do some research because I wonder how many council members in other towns across the state of South Carolina or coastal Carolina have had a police chief become a city council member. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess the big question that gets asked is, tell me about the right time to buy. And I will tell you that, when you think about real estate, people are worried about next year. Well, if you're buying a house or a piece of real estate and you're worried about what's going to happen in 2022, then you're probably not buying your real estate for the right reason. And so I've always suggested that if somebody needs to buy a house and wants to get out of it next year or the following year, that they should probably rent or not invest. But I can tell you, based on my life and what I've watched real estate markets over the last 40 or 45 years, is that when when we're sitting here talking in the year 2031, we're going to look back at 2021 and go, wow, look how cheap real estate was in 2021. I can pretty much guarantee that that's going to happen.
Yes. I remember living on the Isle of Palms in the early 80s and thinking, how could they ask $76,000 for this particular house I was renting at the time? Right. And you're right. That's a great way to look at it too. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. So let's leave this Voice for Real Estate podcast with Mark Mitchell's thoughts on 2022.
Okay. Well, I think the way it's looking, the way the trends are happening right now, we're going to start seeing some more inventory on the market. There's no question. I mean, there's people that are now seeing prices that they never even dreamed that they could get for their house. And probably didn't put those homes on the market this past year because of the uncertainty about COVID and the uncertainty about finding a place to go. And so they've probably thought about it, about what they could do to take advantage of this market. That's what we're hearing from people. I mean, I'm not about making guesses and speculating. I mean, obviously we have conversations with people. I think the reason that our company set records in terms of our sales the last 2 years during what could have been known. I mean, there are a lot of agents in this market that will tell you that they've had their worst years the last 2 years because there's no inventory. Well, those are people that, we all, when we talk to people who say, boy, I'd love to take advantage of this market. If I could just find something in such and such an area, if I could just find a home in Snee Farm, I'd sell my house. Right. Well, some agents will say, sorry, there's nothing on MLS, so you're out of luck. Other agents, the ones that, we tend to have that are most successful, and we've got agents that are struggling too, but the ones that are successful are the ones that say, tell me about what you're looking for in Snee Farm, and I'll go find it. And I'll knock on doors and I'll call people, because chances are those of us that are out in the market and involved in Rotary and involved in the Mount Pleasant Chamber and kids sports and PTA are talking to people all the time and are always hearing people say, wow, I live in Snee Farm and I'd love to take advantage of this market if I could find a house in Old Hobcaw or somewhere else. Right. And so the experienced agents keeps track of that, keeps a log of that, knows who's willing to sell their house if they found the right opportunity. And you put the consumer, Mark, what do you think they should expect as we proceed into January 1, 2022? If you want to buy, there's going to be more choices. Okay. I don't believe we're going to see much movement in interest rates. There's just way too much political pressure to keep interest rates the way they are. I've heard a couple of economists talk about that and listened to podcasts about that. And the problem you got about interest rates, even though that may be the solution to our inflation problem we're having, is that if they raise the interest rates, what will happen is our already crazy deficit that we have, trillions of dollars of deficits, will automatically go up. So as soon as you raise the interest rates, the deficit goes up. The interest rate, what you have to pay back. So, one thing's for sure, Mark, is that the housing industry, real estate transactions have a big impact on the economy as a whole. Absolutely. So if we can keep the real estate robust, as we know it's happening now, I think that will help 2022 have a good outlook. You know what I'm saying? So, absolutely. Hey, Mark, thanks for being here, man. Sure. This is, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I'm very comfortable in your industry. I've never had a real estate license, but I feel like I'm so close to your industry. So, and I know there's a lot of people that want to know what's happening along the Carolina coast. So we appreciate your opinions and your thoughts and taking the time with us here at Voice for Real Estate, Mark. Well, Bill, thank you for what you do again, and appreciate you being such a good sponsor of our industry. So thank you very much. Thanks for the time. All right, we'll see you later then, and thanks again, okay? Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for watching Voice for Real Estate, where you meet local experts who provide timely information in every episode. Be sure to subscribe, share, and comment. Find Voice for Real Estate online at voiceforrealestate.com.